This week on LCARA Ham Radio, I'd love to tell you that we know which antenna is being used for which repeater at all times. That's right. I'd love to tell you that. And then on the inside of the shack, I'd love to tell you that we know which cable goes to which repeater and antenna. That's right. I'd love to tell you that too. But we didn't know exactly what went to where. So we're going to get organized. That's what's coming up this week on LCARA Ham Radio. Well, this week I wanted to take two different work days and show you the different activities that we have to, put into place to ensure that we're organized and that the repeater sites are functioning correctly. I want to thank two of our members for taking these videos. I was unable, as well as Chris, were unable to be there on these two work days. And so Howard, KQ4KDR, took the footage that we have here on the first few segments showing workday earlier in June. Now, the big organization piece here for us was we were having some issues with the ARCOM controller, and that meant hooking up the laptop to the controller and reflashing it with the latest program, the latest versioning. But as you can see here, this is up on top of a mountain here in Kentucky, and the ticks are out. And as you can see, the grass behind Fred there, up to your knee in places, and wonderful, and I mean wonderful habitat for ticks. And so several of the members sprayed themselves down. Now that tower you see in the background is the Kentucky Educational Tower, or KET Tower. That's a 1,000-footer. Ours is only about 130 feet.
All right, coming.
So Howard is shooting some video here, and you can see that Mike is getting connected to the ARCOM controller. And the software for the ARCOM controller is not too hard to learn. It's just there's a lot of buttons, check boxes, various macros that you can put together, or macros. And so, it takes a little while to learn. And Mike here, KY6MM, he's recently changed his call sign, is getting pretty good at the programming on the ARCOM controllers. And there's about 3 or 4 of us now that can get in there and potentially make some adjustments, even if it's just adjusting the real-time clock. Now, this is on the outside, and you can see we've got a couple of our members that are going to be working on the tower. And a big part of this day was to take down cabling that wasn't being used for anything, and making sure that the cabling is also in the correct standoffs so that it's easier to climb the tower and fewer cables are going to get in the way of the climber itself. And you can see one of those standoffs that AC4DM is attaching to one of the legs of the tower. This will also allow us to paint in sections of the tower that Ken was unable to get to the last time due to just the cabling being, to be quite honest, not where it should have been. For a lot of clubs, this type of work it usually falls to maybe 2 people, 1 or 2 people, because your membership may not be all that large. And so do you have a person who climbs? Do you have a person who can program the controller? Do you have a person who's helping ensure that you're safe? Do you have somebody, there's a lot of somebodies on a work day like this, and we're fortunate. If you're still needing people like that, then what I would encourage you to do is, again, get out there and look for additional people and advertise that your club exists in the area. You might be surprised at how many people would be more than willing to come out and volunteer time for the club. This is looking up the tower. We actually have too many antennas on this tower, and then we're not using all of them. And that happens when you go over 20 years of activity. Here's KK4 JPX and Mr. Ben, or as we like to call him, Ham Hacker Randy, doing some of the mowing this day. Now, folks, you need somebody to do this, and Ben is just tireless at times. He ensures that we have the grass mowed so that when we drive into this place, most of the time we have a corridor that we can walk through, that we don't have to worry so much about the ticks. But that stuff needs to be done too. It's not glamorous sometimes, but it is definitely necessary. So we're back in here watching Mike do some programming, and now we're back outside taking down some of this old cable. And you can see the paint and some of the cabling and so forth that is being essentially recovered, and we may reuse that cable at a later date. So Mike is remounting the Arcom here, and what we've also been doing is moving things around in the cabinets to provide better organization as well as additional spacing, so that if we want to add things to these cabinets, we can. Back outside, we got Ben doing the mowing once again, and you can see he's made a lot of progress at this point. We just need it at about 6 inches, and you can see it's higher than that here, and that's it's important to make sure that we get that knocked down. Now, this is the second work day, and we've got KO4 OSS Josh going up the tower, and Josh is going to be taking down antennas that are no longer needed or need to be repositioned. We were installing a new GMRS repeater antenna, as well as moving some antennas or taking down some antennas that were superfluous at this point and will reuse at a later time. GP1s from Comet, in this particular case, is what he's working on up on the tower. And again, we're fortunate. We've got 3 or 4 guys that can climb a tower when we need them, and that's important. A lot of clubs would love to have just one climber, and what's keeping them from recovering cabling and installing new antennas is they don't have that person. Again, get out there and recruit. Get out in the community and let people know your club exists and that you're an active club and you need somebody who can climb a tower. Josh here is wrapping the line around the antenna, and then he's going to disconnect probably a piece of just electrical tape, holding the cable to the tower, and then this is going to be repurposed at a later date. Some of these old antennas have been up on this tower for over 10 years. This footage was actually caught by Carrie, KF9ZJ, so another person helping us out here with the video. So Josh is off the tower now, helping to take apart the antenna. Carrie is getting the footage, and AC4DM is to the left, just out of camera shot here. But we're going to take this apart and break it down. And I try to keep some of the other noises down to a minimum, but again, just to let you know what's going on a work day here at LCARA. There goes Ben. And another one of our members with the weed eater. Looking good. And you can see how tall the grass is there behind Ben if we just left it to its own devices. So this is the new GMRS repeater antenna that's going to go up on the tower. You can see the arm we're going to use with it as well. Now, what used to be KD6FTR is now KY6MM. Mike, he is going through and reorganizing some of the cables on the inside of the shack. If you're wondering why he's got that towel, it still gets a little bit warm in that shack. We do have air conditioning, and if you listen to the background noise, you might be able to hear some of that, but he's making sure that the right repeaters are connected to the repurposed antennas. We moved the GMRS antenna further up on the tower. We also moved, I believe, the packet cabling up to an antenna. We're going to use a biplexer to connect it on a dual band antenna. And then you can see he's also working on the 440 cans here for our 440 repeater. And we're going to use this repeater with the 2-meter repeater's antenna. There goes the arm for the GMRS antenna up further on the tower. We can see Josh way up there, and you can see we got a lot of things sticking out from this tower. And you might wonder, do you use all that? Well, we are really close. I think we use everything that's on the tower now. There might be one antenna that we're not currently using for something, but almost all of these antennas that we currently have on the structure on the tower are being used or will be coming down in the near future. And that's part of it. Clubs go through different waves of, shall we say, interest for different bands, whether it's 6 meters or, DMR or some other type of packet, utilizing different antennas for those repeaters and for those stations. Love watching somebody up on the tower with the clouds going by. It's just a beautiful day for this work day.
We have this packet station here.
Now we're back inside the shack, and you can see Mike is looking at organizing different repeaters that we have in the shack to specific antennas, especially the dual band antennas. This cuts down on the number of antennas on the tower. Now, some people would rightly point out when you use a biplexer like that, you are going to have some loss. But for our purposes out here in rural Kentucky, with the antennas further up on the tower, we actually get good work out of the repeaters that do share an antenna. Is it ideal? Not necessarily, but these biplexers or duplexers, whatever you want to call them, have a purpose, and we make use of them in a couple of different ways in the shack. So Mike's looking at where do we put this and which cables are going to go into this. I believe the DMR and the packet station, I may have that wrong, Mike can correct me down in the comments. I believe the packet station and the DMR are on the same biplexer, duplexer.
What did I say I was going to do? Put it here? I'm going to put it down here, right?
The great thing about the shack that we're using, this is a metal building. It utilizes metal on both sides, the inside and the outside, with foam insulation in between. And so it's easy to actually mount things to the wall without compromising the integrity of the shack, because the foam insulation is about 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick. And it helps keeps the interior of the shack from getting too warm or too cold. And we do have an air conditioner during the summer, and we also have a heater that comes on in the winter. So we believe we've got an idea of where we'd like to place this. First screw goes in. And keep in mind, while Mike and Carrie are getting this footage, we got mowing going on the outside. We got Josh up on the tower. AC4DM is there. Fred is there. We've got 5 or 6 different individuals doing different jobs all at the same time. Now Mike is routing some of the cables. You can see we've got one of the biplexers in place. We've got a second biplexer now in place. And again, we're consolidating which repeaters are going to use which ones. You got to get the right biplexer, duplexer that handles the right frequencies that you want. Is it perfect? No, but again, it allows us to share antennas up on the tower. And here we're looking at the new installs of these and the reorganization of some of that cabling. Good work to everybody who was there. And we've got tags on each of the cables, and we know which antenna and which repeater these cables are now going to. Should we have had these types of organization steps in place? Well, sure, in an ideal world you would have, but a lot of times when you're doing maintenance at the repeater site, it's whoever is available and what is the highest priority at that moment. The more people in hands you have, then you can tackle multiple priorities during the same workday. Well, these are various activities that we did over a couple of different work days at what we call the 88 repeater site. And if your membership is a little bit small, then several of you are going to have to take on multiple responsibilities. If you'll recruit and get more people in the club, then you'll be able to offload some of these responsibilities to folks who are interested. We have people that do computers. We have people that will climb towers. We have people that will do reprogramming. And as you can see, mow, paint the tower, put on new standoffs, and so on. Work at building your membership so that the actual jobs of the club that need to be done can be done. And if you need help, see if there are other clubs in your area that have maybe a larger membership who wouldn't mind coming out and volunteering to help with your club's repeater sites. We try to help out other clubs as often as we are asked to do, because it's just good karma, and you're paying it forward when it comes to the hobby. For the Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association, I'm KY4 BDP Brian. Again, I want to thank Howard, KQ4KDR, and Carrie, KF9ZJ, for getting the footage for this video. Everybody take care. We'll see you in the next video. We've got some good ones coming up. Make sure you subscribe and like the videos. That helps us a great deal, and we'll see you down the road. 73